Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mama Janet Museveni, the representative of the Secretary General of the East African Community, Honorable Ariki Andrea, Cabinet Ministers and Cabinet Secretaries from the East African Community partner states, Honorable Members of Parliament, Heads of Foreign Missions and Diplomatic Corps present, Chairpersons of Councils and Commissions, the Permanent Secretaries, CEOs of Councils and Commissions, Vice Chancellors and other heads of higher education institutions present, development partners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On behalf of the Joint Organizing Committee, I warmly welcome you to the first Regional Ministerial Conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. We are extremely delighted to have such an extraordinary gathering of policymakers, regulators, university leaders, researchers, quality assurance practitioners, employers, partners, and our students. Your presence signals a shared commitment to a higher education setting that is coherent and competitive across the region. In the year 2017, the heads of state of the East African Community took a significant step to declare the East African Community a common higher education area. This commitment was such that higher education is one partner state, this was a commitment that higher education in one partner state would be recognized, trusted, and valued across the entire region. The conference, under the theme Enhancing Regional Integration through Harmonized Higher Education Systems for Sustainable Development in East Africa, aims to accelerate the transformation of that commitment into practical actions. We greatly appreciate Your Excellency for supporting the creation and implementation of the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. Thank you very much indeed. This support is part of the several efforts towards consolidating regional cooperation and integration. Specifically, Your Excellency's support has been instrumental in calling for innovations in science, technology, which are considered catalysts for economic transformation in the region. We are indeed privileged that His Excellency, the President, is personally here to officially open this conference. We are grateful to the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mama Janet Museveni, for convening this conference. The Minister's efforts in supporting continued improvements in Uganda's higher education have been tireless. This conference is a demonstration of extending these efforts to the regional level, for it will provide a political and policy level platform for ministers of education to commit the respective partner states on necessary actions to more effectively operationalize East African Community Higher Education Area. On the 24th of March 2025, at a meeting held in Nairobi, Kenya, the Forum of Chief Executive Officers of National Councils and Commissions for Higher Education in East Africa resolved to organize a regional conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. It is heartening that this has come to pass. This conference is jointly organized by the Forum, that is the Forum of the CEOs, and the Inter-Universe Council for East Africa. Permit me, Your Excellency, to introduce the CEOs of the councils and commissions responsible for higher education in the region. And I request that as I mention your name, you stand up. Professor Mike Kuria is the CEO of the Kenya Commission for University Education. Professor Leonidas Ndaizeye is the CEO of the National Commission for Higher Education in Burundi. Professor Kihampa, the CEO of the Tanzanian Commission for University Education, is represented by Dr. Goodness Kasire. Dr. Edward Kadozi is the Director General of Higher Education Council in the Republic of Rwanda. Dr. Ahmed Najeye is the Chief Executive Officer of Somalia Commission for Higher Education. Their colleagues who are absent, I would like to recognize them because they are part of this forum. Professor Kabule Wetuweva is the CEO of the Commission for Higher Education in DRC. Dr. David Abol is the CEO of the National Council for Higher Education in South Sudan. Your Excellency, the objectives of the conference are reviewing achievements in operationalizing the higher education area, enhancing harmonization of the higher education systems, facilitating mutual recognition of academic qualifications, boosting students and labor mobility, addressing quality assurance challenges, ensuring that East Africa contributes to the continental and global commitments, strengthening collaboration in research, and encouraging greater investment and partnerships to support higher education. We expect that during this conference, we'll come out with implementable actions. The conference has been organized at 2 levels by 2 committees. The Regional Organizing Committee has representation from the national regulatory agencies in the partner states, as well as representatives from the Inter-Universe Council for East Africa. This has handled the technical details of the conference. We have the National or Local Organizing Committee. It has representatives from the National Council for Higher Education, from the Inter-Universe Council for East Africa, as well as relevant government ministries and agencies in Uganda. And to them all, I wish to express profound appreciation for the tremendous work executed. The Inter-Universe Council for East Africa has done a commendable job of serving as a secretariat and coordinating the activities of preparations. We thank you, IUCA. In the interest of time, I will not introduce the members individually, but I would like to request the joint organizing committee, that is the regional and local organizing committee members, to stand up for recognition. Some members are busy elsewhere, they are not here with us. With those remarks, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you officially to the first regional conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. May our deliberations be constructive, our partnerships enduring, and our outcomes transformative. I thank you and wish you a productive conference. Karibu, bienvenue.
Your Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, our chief guest and a founding pillar of East Africa integration. Honorable Mama Janet Museveni, First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports, Republic of Uganda. Honorable Ministers of Education, Science and Technology from our EAC partner states present here in this conference, Honorable State Minister of Education and Sports, Republic of Uganda, Honorable members of East Africa Legislative Assembly, and the members of Parliament of Uganda present in our conference. Permanent secretaries, principal secretaries, and undersecretaries present from all our partner states. Government officials present here, chairperson and members of ISEA Executive Committee, the Executive Secretary of ISEA, 8 of the commissions and Council for Higher Education from all our EAC partner states, Vice Chancellors, Rectors, Directors General, Directors, and Principals from ISEA member institutions, distinguished speakers and presenters, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrea Arik, Deputy Secretary General of East Africa Community and the representative of the Secretary General, Madame Veronica Duva. It is my distinguished honor and privilege to address you today at this opening of the first Regional Ministerial Conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. Allow me, first and foremost, to thank His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for his visionary leadership and his steadfast commitment to the East Africa integration agenda. Your Excellency, you are rightly recognized among the founding fathers of the modern EAC, and your presence here with us is a testimony of your unwavering support to regional unity, prosperity, and transformation. Our chief guest, distinguished delegates, today is historic. It marks the first time that ministers responsible for higher education across our community have gathered specifically to deliberate on the operationalization of the East African Community Higher Education Area since the declaration was made by the heads of state of the EAC partner states May 2017. This conference reflects our collective recognition that education is not only a national responsibility, but also a regional public good, a shared platform for building the skill, human capital required to drive the ESC social economic development and as envisioned in our strategic development blueprint, Vision 2050. It also speaks to the wisdom of our forefathers, who knew that alone we can go fast, but together we can go far. By working together, our higher education institution can break barriers, harmonize standards, and unleash the full potential of our youth, academic, and researchers. Your Excellency, the journey toward a common higher education area is deeply rooted in the ESC Treaty. Article 102 of the treaty commits partner states to foster collaboration in education and training, including harmonization of curricula, examinations, certification, and accreditation, a mandate that has guided our progress. In 2017, our heads of state elevated this vision when they formally declared the ESC Common Higher Education Area, affirming that national higher education systems shall operate under a common regional framework to ensure comparability, compatibility, and mutual recognition of qualifications. With your permission, Your Excellency, I would like to highlight key achievements under this shared agenda. One, the adoption of East Africa Qualification Framework for Higher Education 2015, a critical reference tool for harmonizing qualifications and enabling mutual recognition across borders. Two, the development of regional quality assurance framework with policy guidelines, quality assurance handbooks, and academic benchmarks, ensuring that quality is not compromised in pursuit of access. Three, the establishment of East African Higher Education Quality Assurance Network, fostering a culture of quality across institutions. Four, the Staff Mobility Framework 2014 and the Student Mobility Policy 2015, paving the way for the free movement of academics and learners within our region. Number five, an ongoing effort towards a regional credit accumulation and transfer system, essential for seamless academic mobility and lifelong learning. Number six, the operationalization of a regional program accreditation framework. And seven, the development of a regional policy for recognition of higher learning. Your Excellency, these are technical instruments connecting students, lecturers, researchers, and professionals across Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Federal Republic of Somalia, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Uganda, and United Republic of Tanzania. Your Excellency, the ESC Common Market Protocol 2010 envisioned the free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor. But this cannot be fully realized without mutual recognition of skills, competencies, and qualifications. A medical doctor trained in Kampala must be able to practice in Kigali. An engineer certified in Kinshasa should be employable in Dar es Salaam. A researcher from Mogadishu should collaborate seamlessly with peers in Nairobi, Bujumbura, or Juba. This is the promise of Common Higher Education Area, a space where talent, knowledge, and innovation flow freely, unimpeded by artificial borders. Yet, we must be honest. Challenges remain. Many of our institutions face constraints: adequate funding, outdated infrastructure, digital divides, and shortages of qualified academic staff. These challenges affect quality, equity, and relevance. This ministerial conference must therefore be a platform for bold and actionable solutions. We must prioritize full domestication and implementation of regional frameworks at national and institutional levels. Greater investment in digital transformation to expand access and enhance teaching and learning. Strengthening university-industry linkages to boost graduate employability and innovation. Promoting competency-based curricula aligned with regional and global labor market demand. Mobilizing sustainable financing for research and quality assurance. And accelerating the recognition of qualification to unlock the potential of the common market. As EAC Secretariat, I reaffirm on behalf of the Secretary General our full commitment to advancing the East Africa Common Higher Education Area Agenda. We will work closely with ISEA, the Forum of Higher Education Council and Commission, partner states and development partners to ensure that outcome of this conference are translated into concrete actions and monitored and reported to the Council of Ministers and the Summit of Heads of State. Your Excellency, allow me once again to extend my sincere appreciation to you, Your Excellency, our chief guest and founding pillar of East Africa integration, and to the government and the people of Uganda for hosting this historic gathering. To ISEA and the Forum of National Councils and Commissions, I commend your tireless efforts, technical leadership, and collaborative spirit. You are the architect of this transformation. The EAC Secretariat pledges its continued support to your vital work. To you, honorable ministers, this is the time to have a serious conversation on what we want to achieve as a region through quality education and cross-border collaboration. To all present, academics, students, and partners, your presence here is a testament to the belief that education is the foundation of integration and that our future is shared. Together, let's build a vibrant, inclusive, and competitive East Africa Common Higher Education area, one that empowers our youth, drives innovation, and serves as a model for the entire Africa continent. Long live the East Africa community. I thank you for your kind attention.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the First Lady and the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Ministers from partner states here present, the Secretary General of the East African Community represented by the Deputy, the Chairperson of the Inter-University Council of East Africa, the Chairperson and members of the Forum for Chief Executive Officers, heads of higher education institutions, distinguished speakers, development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency and our chief guest have been given a very interesting and important assignment, and that is to invite the Minister of Education and Sports to address us and then finally invite our chief guest. But because I've been following what is going on with a lot of interest, you allow me to make only 2 points, Your Excellency. One, all the ministers from partner states that were invited are here with us. And I pray that Your Excellency, I'm giving some time to introduce them to you one by one. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for accepting. The first one, Honorable Professor Francois Habyarimana, Minister of National Education and Scientific Research from Burundi. Please stand up for another recognition and give a very loud hand clap for coming. He's a very good friend of ours. The second one is Honorable Marie Teresa Sombo, Minister in the Ministry of Higher and University Education, DRC, Congo. Welcome, Madam. Honorable Julius Migos Ogomba, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, Kenya. Please stand up. Honorable Joseph Nsengimana, Minister of Education, Rwanda. Honorable Nura Mustafa Mukata, State Minister, Minister of Education, Culture and Higher Education in Somalia. Is that enough, people? Make it harder, a little bit harder and stronger. Right. Honorable Mudut Bial Yel, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology in the Republic of South Sudan. Was here. Honorable Professor Daniel E. Mush, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Republic of Tanzania. Your Excellency, I don't have to introduce the Deputy Secretary General of East Africa because this is your son. You know him very well, and he has been very useful since like these other ministers, they have been very useful since they arrived. We've had a lot of time to share over the issues that are going to discuss, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the second point is to thank you for the support and all the love you have for education. Mama, this is your turn now. I've been asked to invite you to address us, and then finally you will invite our friend, our president, Jaja. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Myingo. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Secretary General of the East African Community, Cabinet Ministers and Cabinet Secretaries from the East African Community partner states, heads of foreign missions here today, Vice Chancellors and heads of higher education institutions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. I want to begin by thanking God who has made it possible for all of us who are gathered here today to become part of this important milestone of the inaugural Regional Ministerial Conference on the East African Community Common Higher Education Area. In a special way, let me thank the President of Uganda for carving out some time in his busy schedule to be with us here today as a higher education fraternity of the East African community. Mr. President, your presence in this forum is an inspiration to many young and old who hold dear the ideals of an integrated East African community as an important step in the journey of Pan-Africanism. I also take this honor to welcome all our guests and thank you all for honoring our invitation with your personal presence. I extend to you greetings and good wishes of fruitful deliberations from the Ministry of Education and Sports. Now, a little over 80 years ago, as you heard Professor Kwakol mention, in May 2017, the East African community was declared a common higher education area. However, this meeting marks the first regional ministerial conference for higher education to review the journey we have walked since inception of the common higher education area. I believe that the review of our common higher education area during this conference shall also help us answer questions such as, one, the first extent to which, as East Africa partner states, we have made our common higher education area not only competitive as an attraction for both students and academic faculty, but the private sector too, as true partners of development. Two, the extent to which the common higher education area has become a catalyst for the various efforts by the respective partner states to bring about socio-economic transformation of their own people. Therefore, as ministers responsible for education in the region, we do not see ourselves as only policymakers, but stewards of a shared vision of socio-economic transformation of our people. We see higher education both as an enabler as well as a critical building block in this house we call the East African community. Relatedly, the people for whom we are here to serve in our respective capacities perceive relevance of the common higher education area from their own perspective. The young people want to witness mobility of talent and mutual recognition of qualifications amongst East African partner states. The private sector perceives relevance of a common higher education area as being responsive to industry and job market by way of producing inventions and innovation services and products that will add value to the consumer's experience. Lastly, the governments. The governments will appreciate the relevance of a common higher education area when this subsector becomes a source of pragmatic policy solutions to the pressing problems in society aspiring for socio-economic transformation. This implies, therefore, that our aspiration for an integrated higher education area is purposeful because it does not seek to fulfill the self-interests of higher education per se, but the greater good of the more than 300 million people in East African community. Ultimately, this strengthens the case for the elimination of all barriers to the realization of a truly integrated and common higher education area in which the subsector is perceived by both the private sector and the state as a valuable partner to socio-economic transformation and not merely another area of expenditure. The ever-increasing population of East Africa presents a valuable asset and market to the higher education subsector to position itself as it ought to be. It ought to be an indispensable driver of socio-economic transformation through responsive research, innovation, invention, knowledge creation, and policy ecosystem that answers our society's most pressing challenges. For example, the government of the Republic of Uganda has for the last 4 years been implementing a nationwide program called the Parish Development Model. This program seeks to bring into the money economy those households that have been in a subsistence lifestyle. Parish Development Model has been disbursing funds directly to beneficiaries in those households. And you know that the majority of our community belong to those households. So recently, I was moving around with the president during his nationwide tours to see what the Parish Development Model program is doing. And the president has taken off time to educate our communities about the difference between development and wealth creation. And that learning of our communities has brought a big exposure to our rural areas. People are beginning to really seriously work, knowing what they are doing, that they must create wealth for each family. And when you travel around our rural areas these days, you see better residential areas, better homes, and better communities because of what is happening in our rural areas. As we moved around with the president, we witnessed varying levels of success and impact of this program. However, some of these subsistence households live within the surroundings of higher education institutions. So I keep asking myself whether there is a way these higher education institutions can be of value to the government's grassroots programs, such as Parish Development Model. Now, this is the relevance I was referring to earlier. Higher education needs to transform itself from being perceived as an ivory tower of ideas to becoming the solution to common socio-economic challenges that households encounter in their day-to-day lives. Therefore, a gathering like this of higher education leadership in our East African community really can do so much to the change that would bring what we have had in Africa as potential of riches in Africa that has been talked about as potential since creation, that can now become reality for its own people to live better lives. I'm looking forward to what this gathering is going to do for the East African community. For instance, higher education can be innovative in driving a cottage industry mindset whereby once a student graduates, he or she thinks of what they can do first and foremost from one's home or household before looking elsewhere for employment. And you know, many of our young people who are educated, who call themselves unemployed, come from agricultural backgrounds, but they call themselves unemployed because they are looking for white-collar jobs only as a source of employment. Many of these developed economies we so admire have propagated this culture of cottage industries to lift communities out of subsistence living and poverty. You can imagine if the estimated 70% of the East African community population that lives in rural areas was fired up with a culture of cottage industry, how much socio-economic transformation would that bring to our society? As most of you already know, the challenges that our people face are not unique to a particular partner state, but transcend national borders, and as such, demand regional solutions. Can a common higher education area be the source of such solutions? Therefore, the Ministerial Conference will offer to the partner states an opportunity to review and consolidate progress in the harmonization of higher education systems across our partner states for the greater good of our society through socio-economic transformation. The common higher education area will not only make East Africa more attractive to students from within and outside Africa, but will play a pivotal role in positioning the East African Community region as a nucleus of excellence, innovation, and competitiveness. It will strengthen our regional integration by ensuring that our graduates are employable across partner states and beyond, and that our institutions can pool expertise for greater impact. As Uganda, we reaffirm our government's commitment to supporting the East African Common Higher Education area in various ways. Yes, we look forward to this conference laying a strong foundation for the implementation of resolutions that will transform our region's education landscape for generations to come. Lastly, I wish to thank the Forum of CEOs of National Higher Education Councils and Commissions in the East African Community and the Inter-University Council for East Africa for organizing this inaugural ministerial conference. I also commend all partner states for their various contributions and the spirit of collaboration that continues to guide this noble journey. I thank the Uganda's National Council for Higher Education for steering the local preparation to make this meeting a reality. It is my hope now and prayer that the 3 days of the conference will be used not only to deliberate, but also to make bold obligations and actionable decisions that will bring to life the aspirations of our young people who look up to us for a future of opportunity, of dignity, and shared prosperity. I'd like to remind you of the words of President Julius Nyerere, who said, in quotes, "Unity may not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African peoples to be disregarded or humiliated forever. And it will therefore increase the effectiveness of the decisions we make and try to implement for our development," unquote. This saying strengthens the case for investing in the relevance of a common higher education area for the East African community as partner states. It is now my singular honor and pleasure to invite the President to address this gathering and officially open this conference. God bless you.
The Honorable Ministers, the Secretary General of the Community, the Permanent Secretaries, the members of UYALA, and other officials. I welcome you to Uganda, and I'm glad that you have come here for this important meeting to discuss the issue of a common area for higher education. But this is 2025. And some of the East African countries, especially Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, have been together for a long time under the British. Others were under the Belgians, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, and South Sudan was under the Arabs. But you should ask yourself a question: why are we talking about the common area for higher education now? What have we been doing all this time? Indeed, for Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, we had one common education area. I can see many of you are young people, but we, the ancient people, we know that there was one university for East Africa. You should remind yourself about that. Leave that speech, you will give it out later. You don't divert my audience. We had one University of East Africa with the university colleges of Makerere, Nairobi, and Dar es Salaam. And we had so many common services, the railway, the airline, so many of them. The university council. But they broke down 1977. That's why you are now giving me medals that I was among those who resurrected what had collapsed. Therefore, as you talk about the common education area for higher education, it is better if we start by answering clearly for everybody who has got ears to hear and eyes to see, to say, why integration? Why integration? What is the integration for? Because you cannot firmly deal with the how, because you are now talking of the how to integrate, to integrate at the higher education level. But the question is why do you need to integrate in the first place? Now, the speech the young man had started distributing is what I gave in 2015, 30th July, in Dar es Salaam, when the late Benjamin Mkapa invited me there. In that speech and in many other speeches, I was dealing with the issue of the why. Why integrate? Why? The good thing is that I've been involved in that movement for more than 60 years now, with our elders of Africa, as young people following them, Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita, Sekou Touré, Patrice Lumumba, Mwalimu Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta, Abeid Karume were behind them. I was very active from the very beginning. Now, the reasons why we, the Pan-Africanists, we will see it in this longish speech here, but also other documents, we insist on integration are three. Reason number one, have you heard of the word prosperity? If you say you have heard of the word prosperity, then the next question is, how do you intend? How do we intend to create prosperity for our people? The people in Africa, starting with this region where we are. Where does prosperity come from? Can prosperity come from begging? Because some people thought that was an answer. That if you become a client, a puppet of foreign states, they can give you aid and you will be prosperous. But that one has failed, and it was clear that it could not succeed. So therefore, in the 1960s, when we were grappling with these problems, we discovered that the only way you can create prosperity for your people is when each family, as Mama was saying here, is when each individual, each family, or a company produces a good or a service, bidhaa au huduma, ndio tunasema kwa Kiswahili. If each individual, each family, each company produces a good or a service, here in our language we add another something else. We say with echibaro. Echibaro is a word for us which says, I can see the Murundi smiling because he seems to know, to spy on me, to know what I'm saying in my... What is Echibaro, Professor? You tell these people, tochizi, ochizi. Omunyarwanda kinaka no kimanya Echibaro niki? Echibaro niki? You don't know? I'm surprised. I thought they knew. Do some Tanzanians know? The ones from Bukoba would know. We don't have anybody here who knows. Now, Echibaro would be in Swahili a sabu. A sabu. Or kuchambua. I think kwa Swahili cha kuchambua, to know, to produce a good or a service after you analyze, to know that what you are going to, the enterprise you are going to do is the best for your family, given the resource base of the family. If you take, for instance, land and so on. But in our language here, it's very simple. When we say Echibaro, we mean it means each family, each individual, each family, each company produces a good or a service with Echibaro. This is our initial answer. that if you do that sustainably and sell it, you will get money and you solve your problems and you will be prosperous. But then the next question is, if you produce a good or a service with a chibaro, who will buy those goods and services in big quantities? Who will buy? Because if you produce and very few people buy, or nobody buys, you will not succeed, you will fail. Now, when we analyzed, because in the 1960s, we had the big diversions with some of the leaders preaching politics of identity. Politics of identity, of tribe, religion, gender chauvinism, and etc. But we, in the 1960s, when we analyzed, if you take, for instance, as you'll see in my speech here, I talk a lot about my community called the Banyankore. Banyankore are a group, part of Uganda here, in the west, in the southwest. Those people produce, they have cows, they are cattle keepers. So for the modern economy, they produce milk, produce beef, produce bananas and other things. Now, what we discovered was that, yes, they can produce together milk, beef, bananas, but they don't easily buy from one another. They don't easily buy from one another. A does not buy from B, B does not buy from A. Why? Because they have got similar products. They are producing similar products. So they are stuck. They are stuck. They have products, they have natural resources, mali ya asili they have. Because this is also another big confusion. Some people spend so much time talking about mali ya asili, natural resources. And that's what Mama was saying here. You may have the natural resources, but you will remain poor. If you don't convert the natural resources into goods or services which you can sell and get money. So therefore, we could see that my community, the Banyankore, were actually stuck, even in the 1950s. They were stuck. We had milk, we had beef, we had bananas, but very few people were buying from us. And the few who were buying from us were from other parts of Uganda, from Kampala. They're the ones who are buying our milk, our beef, our bananas. Why? Because for them, they were doing other activities. So they needed what we have, and we also needed what they have. So that's why we were able to tell our people that you people, some people are telling you about tribes, about religion. Our analysis shows that Uganda is the most useful for all these communities. Why? Why? Because it brings you together. Brings together the producer of a good or a service and the consumer, so that somebody from Kampala buys what I have, and I also buy from him what he has, because he has got something. Here near Kampala, they produce fish and other items in the past. In the pre-colonial time, they were producing bark cloth, textiles of traditional type. Now, you want to import machinery, you come to Kampala. They are selling machinery and other things. So therefore, we're able to say, you people, the people who are telling you about tribalism and sectarianism of religion are your enemies. You need Uganda. And that's how we developed our first ideological principle of patriotism. Patriotism. Love Uganda. Why love Uganda? Because you need it for your prosperity. This was principle number one of our movement. And if you saw anybody claiming to not like Uganda, but like his tribe, then you know that he was an enemy of his tribe, first and foremost, before he became enemy of Uganda. Why? Because without Uganda, the Banyankwele cannot be as prosperous as they are now. So even if I didn't care about Uganda, even if I cared only about my community, I would love Uganda, because my community can only be prosperous with Uganda, or can be better prosperous with Uganda than without. So this is principle number one, patriotism. When you are answering the question of why integration, why? I can see there's a minister from Somalia. Up to now in Somalia, we have the problem of clans. The clans are very busy with one another. Fighting. The Hawiya, the other one from the Isaac, the one of Siad Barre, the Darod. Then there's another one. Then there's half clan. So they say 4.5 clans in Somalia. I really want God to give me time, and I go and talk with those people about these clans. This is the problem of Somalia now for 30 years, more than 30 years. But once we talked about patriotism, love Uganda. Why? Because you need it for your prosperity. If you want your people to be prosperous, you need Uganda. But soon, that's why, you know, when I tried to learn French more than 60 years ago, and I was moving very well in French, in the school. Fermez la porte. Ouvrez la porte. And I was moving very well. But the problem came when our French teacher, Mr. Bayaz, said some words are women, some are men. So with my usual argumentativeness, I asked Mr. Bayaz, how do we know which word is woman and which word is man? He said, no, there's no law. You just cram in your head. I said, please, bye-bye French. That's how I stopped learning French, 1962. But I kept a few words in my head of French. They always stay there. One of them is Buku Dol Mill. Buku Dol Mill, which means sleeping a lot. So, Buku Dol Mill is also good. When you are asleep, you don't know the problems in the world. It's good to be asleep. Because a snake can come and enter the house and bite you and you die peacefully without worrying. Because you are dormant, you are asleep. So when people are asleep, they really don't know their interests. They can be in problems, but they don't see any problem. Now, here in Uganda, people were asleep. Tribes, religion, what? Killing one another here in Uganda. Uganda had become a failed state. But when they woke up, and then they started engaging in production, soon they discovered another problem. The internal market of Uganda was not enough, because within a short time, they discovered that the milk we are producing 5.3 billion liters of milk now a year. The internal market is only 800 million. So there's a surplus of 4 billion now, but it's growing. Bananas, big surplus. We're big producers of bananas in the world. I think we are number 2 in the whole world. 10 million tons. Maize, 5 million tons. The internal market, only 1 million. Even industrial products, cement, steel products, all of that. So, we are now stuck. Oh, what do we do? Where do we get the market? The market, you are looking for market. Have you heard of something called East Africa? Because they are like as if they are asleep really. Just there with the people are telling them the tribes, the religion. So, we say, you people, have you heard of something called East Africa? Yes, we have heard. Why don't you think of working with other brothers in East Africa? Maybe they could buy these products, some of these products. So, I think some people have started waking up and knowing that for prosperity, the communities in Uganda need Uganda, they must love Uganda, the communities in Kenya must love Kenya, Tanzania must love Tanzania, must love Somalia, love South Sudan, love Rwanda, Burundi, love Congo, but also love East Africa, Wanange. Why you love East Africa? Because you need it for your own good. Whether you like my face or not, you need me. You need my purchasing power. Mfuko wangu uko na kitu ndani yake. Kama unataka kuwa vizuri kwako, nitazame vizuri. I can contribute to your prosperity by buying your product. And you can also contribute to my prosperity by buying my product, which I have. And this trade is ancient. Even before the Europeans came, we had a trade from the East African coast, Zanzibar, Bagamoyo, Dodoma, Tabora, these areas of the areas of Uzinza. That time they were not talking about Mwanza and so on. There were other centers. Karagwe was a very big interaction point, all the way to Uganda here, and to Congo. We call Congo Bulega. That's what we call Congo. The trade was from the East African coast to Congo and back. So this is not new at all. So therefore, the second reason why the second way we can solve prosperity is through Pan-Africanism, which means East African integration, which is what we are talking about here. This is what we are talking about here. But then, when we studied, we saw another issue. Can you benefit from the Ugandan market or from the East African market if you remain pre-industrial, if you remain underdeveloped? As you heard Mama here talking of families which were in the subsistence economy, outside the money economy, will you benefit from the market of Uganda or the market of East Africa? No. So that's why we pointed out to our people here, you need to undergo social economic transformation. You must become modern societies. You are teachers. You are educationists. Those who teach history would have heard of the Renaissance in Europe. By the time of the Renaissance in Europe, 1400, Europe had a three-class society. You had the aristocrats, the feudalists, you had the artisans, the blacksmith, the what, all those people. And then you had the farmers, the peasants. That was about 1400. But by 1789, the time of the French Revolution, Europe had undergone social metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a process in biology to do with insects. Insects, they start as egg, the egg hatch and become caterpillar, pupa, then mature butterfly. Society also metamorphoses. So when you come to France in 1789, you now find a new structure of society. When they overthrew the king in France, 1789, there were now 4 classes. In French, in my residual French, I think they call them classe moyenne. Classe moyenne, something like that. Class, is it moyenne or what? Social, class social. Moyenne is middle class. You will educate me. But class social, social classes. they were, you still had the aristocrats, the feudalists, they were still there. But you now had a new class. This is the one I was trying to remember, the middle class. I think this is the one they call class moyenne or something. The middle class. The middle class are people who make a living between what they put in production and what they get out. Input cost and output price. The difference, profit. They live on that, the middle class. And then, they were called the bourgeoisie in France. This was a new class in human history. It had never existed. And then you had the middle class came with the working class. Those ones that depend on wages, salaries, they are paid money. They don't own anything. In Europe, they don't own anything. That's what Karl Marx wrote, that they have lost everything except their labor. That's what they were saying. And they were called the working class, the proletariat. And then you still had the peasants. So within the 300 years, between 1400 and 1789, Europe had undergone social metamorphosis. Here, by that time, we were still a three-class society, like Europe was in 1400, here in this part of Africa. We had the aristocrats here, we had the artisans, we had the farmers. But what happened? Colonialism killed the aristocrats and killed the artisan class and left only the peasants and some few clerks who are being employed by the colonial system. That's why, therefore, you have got very serious socio-economic distortions in the former colonies. So therefore, in order to benefit from the market of Uganda, to market from the market of each country fully, to market from the market of East Africa, in each country, you must have socio-economic transformation. You cannot go on with peasants, where a peasant produces another peasant, and you think you are doing a good job. The peasants must disappear, not by killing them, but by transforming them. If you go to Europe now, and you are looking for the feudalists, they are no longer there. And you go looking for the peasants, they are no longer there. What you have in Europe now are the middle class and the skilled working class. That's what you have there now. It has become a two-class society in Europe. So even here, we must have socio-economic transformation. And this is where now education comes in now. Education comes in here. Strategically, we have united Uganda under patriotism. Strategically, we are bringing together East Africa and Africa under Pan-Africanism. But our citizens, to fully enjoy, utilize this market, they must undergo socio-economic transformation through two routes. Route number one is education for everybody, if possible. Education. And then route number two, to join the money economy, which is what Mama was talking about. All the families must join the money economy. And then now you go into the details of education, what sort of education, science education, technical education, humanities, and so on. You go into those details now. And that's how now you come to the common higher education area. Why are you disagreeing? Here in Uganda, we had to fight a small battle. We're always fighting with some small battles. The small battle was in the schools where they are children are paying for education. Some of the teachers were charging students from South Sudan higher than the ones from Uganda. Oh, we almost went to war. Stop this. What are you doing? All the children must pay the same. It's really criminal. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? How can you even think about this? This is a child who also wants education like this other one here. But if you don't know the why the integration? That's why all those problems come. Now, then the commonality. If you understand that I need East Africa, Banange, for my own good, I need East Africa, I need Africa. East Africa, at least let's start with East Africa because it's a bit nearer. Then we ought to have common standards. Common standards. Once I have qualified here, I should be able to move and be employed in other countries, in the other countries. I think these are some of the things you're going to discuss. How to make the education, higher education, common, so that I don't qualify here. You know, when we had just got independence, the British, no, just before independence, India had got independence before us. And some Ugandan students went and studied in India. And they came back with the university degrees of India. But then the British were in charge here said, no, we don't trust Indian degrees. Even if you have got an Indian degree, we shall give you 1 year to prove that you are actually educated. So we had teachers in the secondary school at Ntare, where they were not recognizing their Indian documents. Now, as we are speaking now, India has gone to the moon. England is here on earth with us. So you should resolve the issue of the standards, the syllabus, so that we make it easy because that's what was happening with Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania until chaos came in. We had the same system here. Actually, even with the British, we had the Cambridge school system and so on, and University of East Africa. Now, the fourth principle there is democracy. That one is clear enough. So the four principles: Pan-Africanism, patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. This will enable us to build prosperity for our people. And if you want to look for examples in the world, you can compare the United States of America and Latin America. Latin America has got more natural resources than the United States. If you look at the forests, the Amazon, you look at the rivers, you look at the minerals, South America is richer than the United States. But why is the United States prosperous and Latin America miserable? For me, I think the problem came with the integration. The British colonies in North America, once they got independence, they integrated, they became one, politically, but also economically. So they created a big space for business in the United States. In Latin America, very difficult to succeed in business. Small economies, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, I don't know what. It's not easy to succeed. That may be the reason. You studied, you are academicians. Why is United States prosperous and nearby Latin America miserable? So all this is connected with the word prosperity. But then there's another word, strategic security. How can Africa be secure from all threats? When the Europeans colonized us, some of the people who were colonized never survived. If you go to United States now, you will find people there called Americans. But those are people who came from Europe and took the land of the original Americans, the Indians of North America. Not long ago, 400 years ago. By that time we were here. These kingdoms of ours were here. Long, long before. By 900 AD, our kingdoms here were there, of Uganda, and Rwanda, and Karagwe, Tanzania, and so we were here. So a new country was born when we were here. Putting your own skins, running around. Now they went and created that powerful country. But the original inhabitants, there are very few of them are surviving in North America and in Latin America. You find some few Indians there. In Bolivia, you can see their faces. You can see their faces. They look a little bit like Chinese. But they are marginalized people. Some disappeared completely. Others were completely marginalized. Australia, the Aborigines. Here, Africans don't die easily. That's why we survived. By our genes. Why didn't the Africans disappear? Because we don't easily die. And why? It was partly civilizational. The Red Indians in America were mainly killed by diseases brought by Europeans. But we here, because of our ancient civilization of cattle keeping and goats and chicken, which were staying with us in our houses, in our huts, you are there with your cows and with your goats. They are vaccinating you with the sicknesses. And you are also vaccinating with them. There are diseases called zoonotic diseases. The diseases which go between human and animals. Me, I'm fully immunized because I was staying with the cows. They would give me their disease, I give them mine, direct. So dying for me was not so easy. So because of that, we survived. But we should have learned what the English say, once beaten, twice shy. We should have woken up and said, we survived, never again. But dormir beaucoup. People are just asleep. Now, the second reason for integration, the why, is strategic security. How can we be secure from all threats by anybody? You see what is happening in the world. The fighting in Gaza, in Europe. If you are weak, you are in danger. So how can because with the economic integration, a country like Uganda is developing, we will develop. We are now a lower middle income country. We shall become a high middle income country because we are moving very well. But even if Uganda becomes a high middle income country, or even a first world country like South Korea. South Korea is now a first world country. Can Uganda stand alone, security-wise, in the world? Because now some of the people, like the Americans, they talk of what they call four-dimensional superiority. They want to be superior in 4 areas, what you call dimensions. They want to be superior in land forces. They want to be superior in air force. They want to be superior in the navy, at sea. They want to be superior in space. And 4 of them are already on the moon. The Americans are on the moon. The Chinese have gone there. The Russians, and now the Indians have gone there, to the moon. Here, the Africans were here on Earth. So those people on the moon, they are looking at us from the moon. We are like insects. When you see insects, they are eating sugar, very busy with sugar. You can bring doom and kill all of them. They don't even know what's killed them. This is not good at all. This is very irresponsible for the African leaders. And that's why our leaders, some of our leaders, were saying, apart from economic integration for prosperity, where possible, we should also have political integration, form political federation. Because if you succeed economically, but you don't have one common defense, Uganda is landlocked. So there's no way we can talk of a navy where we are landlocked here. The sea is only with our brothers in Kenya and Tanzania. So how can we have a navy? Even if we had the capacity. So that's why the issue of the political integration, where possible, the East African Federation. And East African Federation will be able to send people on the moon and say, ask the Americans, what are you doing here? But Uganda cannot do it, even if we become a modern country. UK, France, Belgium, Germany, Allemagne, they are all here with us. They are here with us. On Earth here, they are just here with us. It's only the Americans and the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians. Indians have now gone to the moon. We are here. So that was the second reason of why. Where possible, economic integration for the whole of Africa, but political integration where possible. And that's why we didn't agree with Gaddafi. Gaddafi wanted the whole of Africa to become one country. I don't want to belong to that country. It is too amorphous. But East Africa, we are either similar or linked. And we are lucky, we have the language of Swahili, which we can use to unite us. So that is the second reason why we support integration, economic and political. But finally, thirdly, these people we are trying to unite, who are they? In this speech you will see I was pointing out that the 1.5 billion Africans now belong to only 4 groups, linguistic groups. Group number 1 are the Niger-Congo. Niger-Congo. These have 2 groups. There is the Bantu and the Kwa of West Africa, southern Nigeria, southern Ghana. If you listen to the languages, they are very either similar or linked. If, for instance, I say the word Obudiri, Obudiri, it's an old word meaning bed here, in our languages here. But I'm sure even in Rwanda, in Burundi, it must be the same word, Ubudiri. You can go. So many similarities among the Bantu dialects. But even between the Niger-Congo and the other group are what we call the Nilo-Saharan. Nilo-Saharan are people like our people in northern Uganda, northern Kenya, Turkana and all those people, southern Ethiopia, the Oromos, the Nubians, the Somalis. These are all part of the Nilo-Saharan. But you will be surprised, because you are educationists. You should be digging this one up. Me, I dig them up just with my casual ways. I dig up all these similarities. If you ask our Somali daughter there, what do you call cow? She will tell you, sa. Correct? Sa. Now, in the Bantu dialects of this area, you know Obusa. You know what sa is? Obusa, Amasha, cow dung. That's what we call cow dung. We don't call human dung busa. No. That's something else. Cow dung is not even goat. Is not even goat dung. It is cow only. So you can see that linkage, ancient linkage. There must be some linkage. Now the third language group are the Afro-Asiatic, the Arabic and Tigrinya and Amhara. And then there's a small group in South Africa called the Khoisan. So when they say Africa, different, what? These people are either similar or linked. And we can, if we are very clear, we can work to unite them both economically and in some cases politically for their own good and you will be able to create very strong units. I must commend Mwalimu Nyerere and Abeid Karume, because they united Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Now they are one country called Tanzania. For the last 60 years, they are one country. This was 1964. We were supposed to have the same unit of East Africa, 1963. I have my pictures here. I will give each one of you those pictures of that time. But some of our leaders wanted to remain big fishes in a smaller pond. If you're in a smaller pond, you are a big fish. And that's how Mwalimu gave up, and in 1964, he moved with Karume, and they formed Tanzania, which has really helped those people there. If you go and do research, how the groups have benefited, how the Zanzibaris have moved, benefited, the maritime borders, what have you. So therefore, be careful not to invite old men into your meetings, because they can speak for ages. So with these few words, I do what? What do I do now? I declare the meeting opened. Merci beaucoup.
Can we give His Excellency a big round of applause? A standing ovation, please. Remain standing, remain standing.
I have my pictures, which they should give to each head of delegation. Give them now. Hmm? No, that's finished.
Yeah, the heads of delegations, can you move forward? Honorable Ministers, Cabinet Secretaries.
And the Secretary General also give him his own.
Yes, there's a ranch. Yeah. Your Excellency, as we take the picture, Mama has prepared a good lunch for her guests, and you are invited. Not only a lunch, but also exhibition, and we know you'd enjoy lunch. I know. Yes. Yes. Now, the next group who will be taking the picture as the members of management who should be near. Oh, there's a group waiting. Yes, members of management, I want to see Dr. Nyait, I want to see Professor Mawa, I want to see Dr. Ine, once this photo is done. National Council and the ACU will be together.
Yes. Yeah. Together. Dr. Maria Nakachwa. Yes. You can wait for this group as you are provided by the protocol. And Dr. Sebogin. Yes, that's the last group. National Council and Inter-University Council. And Your Excellency, I'm part of that group. That means I should leave the microphone here. Oh? Okay. Yes. All councils should be able to. Yeah? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will request that we stay in our seats until His Excellency and the First Lady leave, and then we will make our way to the luncheon area. And kindly note that you'll receive coupons while you're seated, so bear with us as we let the President depart, and then we'll join the luncheon area later.